What's going on, everybody? It's your favorite dating coach, Elliot Scott, and as you can see by the title below, we're going to talk about how to filter men. 5 ways to make sure the guy you're talking to is not only on the same page as you, but he's emotionally available and it will transition into the relationship. Okay, so let's jump right into this. The first thing I tell women to do is understand time and how powerful of a filter it is. And this basically means pace. And it's not just, it means so many things. Not only how fast you go, but how fast he's going. Like, is he love bombing you? How fast is he trying to move? What is he trying to get done? You may be waiting before you open up, you waiting before you put out. You have to put time into a lot of how much time he's willing to invest in you. If the more you think about time in that sense, again, I don't mean just days, but it sounds weird. But if you put a lot of distance between things, or you slow things down, and you see how he reacts, that is a great filter, because you have to understand this. When you're talking to a dude, the only thing you can go off of is I call the evidence, right? Is what you see. When you're talking to a dude and you sleep with him on the second date or the first date, you have no idea, and I'm not against this, I'm saying if you really want a relationship and you want to do what's best for you to get there, you have no idea who you're talking to. Now, you could get lucky and be on the same page and transition into a relationship. I've seen that. I've been in a relationship like that before, where we messed around, and then it transitioned into something awesome. But a lot of the times, you don't know if that's the case. And if there's ever a variable, X, right, that you don't know, it's better to play a game of caution, to slow it down, to get more evidence, to make a better decision. Number 2, this sounds like common sense, but a lot of women don't do it. You have to ask him what he's looking for. Now, before you click off like, oh, these are stupid, let me tell you why I say that. A lot of women are going to come to me and say, well, yeah, Elliot, but he could be lying. That's true, but then he's a piece of shit. Okay, whatever. However, it's more about the concept of framing. If you don't say anything to each other and you're just hanging out, having fun, hooking up, and you're expecting it to go somewhere, you guys can be on completely different pages. The beautiful thing about whether he's lying or not is if he tells you, yeah, I want a relationship, I'm on the same page, I'm looking to settle down, and things like that, it is framed now that everything you guys, like, it shouldn't catch you off guard, homie, because everything we are doing, everything you are saying, all this context we're building is progressing towards something serious, number 1. Number 2, if a guy does pull, women will come to me and say, well, I'm afraid of saying that because he'll pull away. I don't want to have that talk. Stop. High value women only invest their time into what I call negotiations or contracts that benefit both parties. None of this, I don't want to, him saying, I don't want a relationship, I just got out of one, but I mean, you're a cool girl, let's see where it goes, I do like you, or if the right girl comes along, I'm open to it. No. You're not taking the load of the risk. High value women do not take the load of the risk. It's the man who takes it, meaning, okay, well, again, going back to intent versus premise, if you don't understand what that is, check out my guides below. But a woman has to have the job opening, right? You have to have the slot open of, hey, I'm a single woman looking for a relationship. Doesn't necessarily mean with you. You got to try just like the rest of the guys, but the slot is open. And he has to take that risk in courting you, and then you give some reciprocity, of course, and then see where it goes. None of this, hey, I like you, but I'm not sure what I want, but let's see what happens. No, fuck that. The guy has to say, I'm looking for a relationship, because you have to frame it in that sense. It's just high value to do that. And then everything you guys are doing from that point on, you both have the same idea. Okay, it's it's moving towards something more serious, which is what we want. Number 3 is doing your detective work. Now, what this means is there's a lot of things you got to find out about a guy. Again, if you want more on it, guides down below. I actually go through the whole process on how to do it. But you do need to find out very common things. I'm not saying do it in terms of like interview questions, but you do need to find out when was his last relationship. Has he ever had a serious relationship? Because guess what? If he just got out of a relationship, he's not going to jump back into one. If he's never had a relationship, you're not so effing special that you're going to break that 10-year streak of him never having a serious relationship, and you're the one. No girl's that effing special. Was he cheated on in his last relationship? Now, while these guys can still commit, and it's not even his fault, just from my personal experience, when a guy gets cheated on in his last relationship, he's much more likely, statistically, to be emotionally unavailable. And I always tell women, again, play the game of caution. This goes back to number 1, of time. Okay, you got to play the game of caution. If you find this out, you want to slow it down dramatically and see how it unfolds. You don't want him getting in his head. You don't want him, you want to have more time to read the signs and things like that. If you do your detective work, okay, and do not ignore these signs, you're going to be in a much better position than if you weren't, or if you don't do it. I know so many women who will come to me and they will tell me the story and they'll be like, I don't know what happened, but I'm listening to it. And it does take some skill. You're not going to be good as me. I've been doing this for 10 years and I listen to you women 8 hours a day, every single day. I have mastered this, okay? So you could talk to me for literally a minute and I already know what's going on, unless you're describing like the night and the setting and the moon and the star. Like, okay, well, I don't need to know all that. But when you tell me your problem, I can tell within a minute or two what's going on and why. I just have been so good. I've just been doing it for so long. So you will get better at it and you will pick up on these things. I always tell my clients that I call it the character profile. Like when they tell me this story, and this is such a good reason to have a session with me, is you hear yourself explain it, because I give you the floor. You're going to hear yourself explain it, and then I'm going to ask questions. There's going to be a lot of back and forth and a lot of banter. And then when we're talking, it's like, oh shit, now that I explained it that way, and now that you explain, and now that you told me this, now I can see why yeah, you're right, Elliot. You just get a lot of clarity. Okay, so you do your detective work. You have to figure out his dating history, what he's looking for, when was his last relationship, was he cheated on, has he ever had a serious relationship, and things like that. Number 4, again, sounds like common sense. You need to date a man who is consistently investing his resources in you over time. Resources, time, energy, effort, money, and they're important in that order. You want him to invest time. Money, they're all good, but you want time. You want a guy to actually take a slot of his time and invest it in you. And when that time gets, when you have effort and intensity, or effort and energy and all that, on top of it, meaning, let's say, not only are we going on a date, but it's a nice date because I planned this date and I'm asking these awesome questions to get to know you. That's a very good sign. Money is, out of all the things there, money, or out of all the resources, money's the only one that's infinite. He can spend money, and yeah, we have a very strong attachment to money, so it is a good thing that someone spends it on you, but a lot of men will make, or not a lot, everyone will make that money back. You will always be spending money and getting money. So if a guy is taking you on these really nice dinners, okay, but his consistency or his communication is inconsistent, no. We need to consistently get those resources over time. And the reason I say over time is because anyone could do it for the first, several weeks or month. You want a guy to do it over the long haul. Guys will love bomb you, hook you, and then once they know they have you, they'll step back. So I want to see it consistently over time. And then lastly, is it progressing? Progressing is a completely different thing than you think it is. Oh, my cat. what's it called? Progressing does not mean date 1, date 2, date 3, date 4. It's depth. I always tell my clients that love is stable. And what I'm not saying you guys should fall in love, but what that means is I use the analogy of like a tree and like roots. The more the roots are in the ground, the deeper they're in the ground, that tree ain't going nowhere. You got to cut that shit down. That tree is not going nowhere. Okay. Whereas if it's a withered ass tree and it was just planted, you can pull that shit right out. Okay. And what I'm trying to get at is a man who is progressing the relationship, a man who is investing in you, a man where I'm all over the place now, but I tell my clients it goes in 4 stages. You got to get a date, got to get consistent dates, you got to make it feel like a relationship, and then you got to transition into a relationship. The more a man likes you, the sturdier that is. You won't get this back and forth. You won't get his feelings changing overnight. And again, progression is much different than date 1, date 2, date 3, date 4, date 5. That doesn't matter if the relationship is not progressing. It has to feel like a relationship. If you're feeling the same way date 1 versus date 4 versus date 10, but the only difference is, you're a little more comfortable with each other and you're hooking up, that's not good, okay? He has to start threading your lives together. He has to start leaving shit over his place, sleeping over his place. He has to be consistent before, during, and after sex. There's a lot of variables, okay? So if you want to get all that, again, I know I've been saying this a lot. Link is down in the description to all my guides. I explain all this. I literally have a guide on how to tell how much a guy actually likes you, like a number, 1 to 10, okay? So if you're interested in that, links are down below. Ladies, I love you all. Take care and peace.